I'm horror author Paul Edwards. Today I'm reading Monsters of the Movies magazine, issue number 5 from 1975. I thought some of you might enjoy looking through this vintage monster magazine with me. Just in case you don't own your own copy of Monsters of the Movies, issue number 5 from 1975. Together, let's see what kinds of vintage monster goodness is in here. Monsters of the Movies, issue 5, goes for $1. So for 1975, that's a little bit steep for a magazine. But worth it, because you get Godzilla on the cover. So you know it's got to be pretty good, right? All right, let's check it out. I like the mix on the inside cover. They show you, you're going to have some gothic monsters in here, some science fiction monsters, and some kaiju. That's a good mix. Notice Stan Lee presents. All right, looks like some good stuff. Let's see what we get. Godzilla, and this is hard to read, but it says Tokyo's greatest nemesis. Well, he was Tokyo's greatest nemesis in the 50s and 60s, but this was 1975. By this point in his movie series, Godzilla was now the good guy. If anything, he was protecting Tokyo. They completely reversed it. He was protecting Tokyo from worse monsters. But this is from his second film, Godzilla Raids Again, where he fought against Anguirus. I never understood in this movie how they could say that Godzilla and Anguirus were from the same family of dinosaurs, you know, in the zoological categorizations, that kind of family. They really don't look too much alike. So this is an actual shot from King Kong vs. Godzilla, which was the third Godzilla movie. This is the Godzilla costume from King Kong vs. Godzilla. But this is a touched up photo where they've added in the ray on an overlaid picture of the military base here. This isn't an actual frame from the movie. Okay. Well, this is just Photoshop gone wild, although they didn't call it Photoshop back then. But look at this. So Mothra is carrying a net full of her islanders to safety. This is from Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. And the twin fairies, who are about 6 inches tall, are about half the size of Mothra's head. And the villagers each are, you know, almost the body length of Mothra's body, which makes absolutely no sense. This scale is wildly off. They're not even trying. There's Godzilla fighting the sea monster below. Yeah, they're, number one, they're way out of scale. And number two, shouldn't they be looking at the monster battle that's going on instead of looking at the camera? Okay, if you can't tell this is a retouched photo, I don't even know what to tell you. But you do have Mothra, King Ghidorah, and Godzilla. I think in the first King Ghidorah movie, his necks were a little bit longer and his wings a little bit larger than the way he looked in later movies. Even in Monster Zero, I don't think that it quite matched up. I think that the necks were shorter. And the wings weren't quite so giant. Back to Godzilla fighting Anguirus. How do you like to live in this apartment building? Thanks. Monsters of the Movies magazine. It's not for everybody, but it could be for you. Godzilla raids again. Oh, dinos fighting is always good. So in the movie Yog, Monster from Space, the space monster would possess giant earth creatures. There was a giant crab, there was a giant turtle, and there's a giant octopus, or is it really a squid? I guess it's probably a squid. They each have individual names, and I'm ashamed to say that off the top of my head I can't think of what the individual names are. I know what movie it's from. I know it's from Yog, Monster from Space, but I can't think of the name of the individual monster here. Can you? Without looking it up, if you can name it in the comments without looking it up, I'll be impressed. It doesn't help that the names weren't set on screen for all these monsters. Oh. Crimes at Dark House. They give you pretty good sized photos here. Oh, monster masks. I'm not loving the Herman Munster one. The devil one looks a little too piggish, doesn't it? But I do like the Creature from the Black Lagoon one. The Golden Days of Frankenstein. Oh, I see. They're interviewing Elsa Lanchester, who played the Bride of Frankenstein in that movie, and she also played a separate role in Bride of Frankenstein. She played Mary Shelley, the author of the Frankenstein novel, during that prologue in the beginning. In fact, if you watch very closely, you'll see that when she's playing Mary Shelley, she imitates some of the same gestures and movements that she does at the end of the movie as the bride. This did not go well. The meeting of the monster and the bride. Worst blind date ever. So, in 1977, when Star Wars came out, it completely took over the merchandising of, sci-fi toys. But up until 1977, through most of the 1970s, Planet of the Apes was the franchise that was marketed like crazy. And they had models, puzzles, books, action figures, anything that they could generate that was in the image of Planet of the Apes, they did. They marketed the heck out of Planet of the Apes. Right up until the day Star Wars came out. And then everything just suddenly, they dropped Planet of the Apes and everything became Star Wars. I'm sorry, the bridge is out. You'll have to spend the night. Vampires of Radio. Well, I know that Orson Welles did one of those Mercury Theater radio shows of Dracula. In fact, if I remember right, Orson Welles' version of Dracula was the very first Mercury Theater play. At least it was the first in one line of their plays. Monster Masquerade. Wait a second. Oh my gosh. Hunting dinosaurs for fun, if not profit. One way that they used to portray dinosaurs on screen in fantasy films and TV shows was to take real living reptiles and, show them against a screen backdrop where the actors were cowering in terror. Sometimes they would attach little prosthetics to the dinosaurs, like little horns or fins or spikes down the back or something like that, so that you wouldn't immediately recognize it as an iguana or whatever it was. Oh, this I know. This is from the silent dinosaur movie, The Lost World, which is an awesome dinosaur movie. And in fact, if you have never seen the silent version of The Lost World, you can find it on my YouTube channel. It's on my Silent Horror Movies podcast. That's definitely worth seeing. It's funny how the effects in the silent dinosaur movie are better than the dinosaur effects in some much later movies like The Land Unknown. There's Varan the Unbelievable. Sometimes I call Varan the Unwatchable. This is The Beast of Hollow Mountain. Oh, and now we're switching over to Gothic horror. This is on the latest, at the time, the latest Hammer Studios Frankenstein movie, Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell. Sounds like you're getting two monsters, doesn't it? Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell. But the Frankenstein that they're talking about is Baron Frankenstein, the man. So it's Frankenstein, and the monster from hell is the monster that he creates. So there's only one actual monster in the movie. And what happens is that Baron Frankenstein has been sentenced to and ultimately has taken over an insane asylum, a prison for the criminally insane. And he is using the inmates to assemble his latest hodgepodge monster, which is freaky as heck. There's Simon Ward at work on creating a monster with the Baron's supervision. This is a good movie, but it's distracting. This terrible hairpiece that they made Peter Cushing wear is just terrible. Oh my gosh. So the brain that they used for this monster was a violent criminal who was obsessed with broken glass. And the obsession with broken glass leaked into the monster that was created. And he was smashing lab equipment and trying to threaten people with the glass if he could. Yikes. Yep. And then the inmates rose up. On my Why Monster Lost podcast, somebody suggested I should do an episode on why the monster from hell lost, and I should do that. Reminds me of it. Maybe I'll get to work on that in the near future. But I think the answer is clear. The monster from hell lost because he was outnumbered by all the maniacs. I love the design for Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's one of my favorite monster designs in all of cinema. Wow. The one thing, of course, I've seen this movie a million times, so this is something you might not notice the first few times. But one thing I wasn't crazy about in Creature from the Black Lagoon was the obviously painted canvas backdrop showing the distant portions of the creature's cave. It just didn't look right to me. But I'm nitpicking. I mean, 99% of the movie Creature from the Black Lagoon I just love. It's just one small thing I'm pointing out. Yikes. Look, you can learn the secrets by sending in this coupon. You can learn the secrets of Dim Mak, the Death Touch, as taught by Count Dante. Okay, as Luke Skywalker said in one of those modern Star Wars movies, every part of that sentence was wrong. First of all, there is not really any such a thing as Dim Mak, the Death Touch. Go ahead, look it up. There's no such thing. Secondly, this guy's name was not Count Dante. It wasn't even Dante. There's a completely made-up pseudonym, and this is a completely made-up character for, marketing purposes. Third, if there was such a thing as Dim Mak, the Death Touch, a secret way that you could kill somebody just by touching them, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't incur the liability of offering it for free in a magazine. Oh, there's old Igor. I love this graveyard in this set. It's so spooky. Go Ape. More Planet of the Apes goodies. Uncle Stan, remember Stan Lee is presenting us this magazine. Uncle Stan wants you to buy Crazy number 8. You can't have one of these without some bodybuilding ad. I'm still not sure what they're sending you, though, because they can't be sending you weights. What is it that they're sending you? Like a brochure of how to do some exercises? I just don't know. Ooh, the Mego figures. I had those. I didn't have Captain America, but I did have Spider-Man. More self-defense. The Monster Male. Ooh, there's Blackula. He had 2 movies in the early 70s that were in the subgenre of what they called blaxploitation. You can get kung fu and karate in this one. Retire before 50. Well, guess what? According to my YouTube analytics, it's way too late for about a third of you watching this, and it's way too late for me. So, no, that's not going to happen. Oh, and we're done. Oh, this is continuing education. Okay. And there you have it. There's Monsters of the Movies, issue number 5. If you enjoy classic monsters and vintage horror, check out my book series, the Mourner's Woods books. I'm self-published on Amazon. I've written a series of novels that take place in a haunted forest. Each novel has an entirely new cast of characters dare to enter into this forbidden wilderness where invariably they encounter some sort of a spooky threat, and it's a different one each time. I have one with swamp monsters, I have a giant spiders one, I have monsters and ghosts galore. So if you are a fan of retro horror, you definitely will enjoy my book series, the Mourner's Woods books, for sale on Amazon. My name is Paul Edwards. Thanks a lot for spending some time looking through Monsters of the Movies magazine with me. I'll see you in Mourner's Woods.